I sent you a letter, and you've given me a very timely response, and I appreciate it, General Dunford, about some have suggested that we intentionally target civilians in the war on terror and that we go back to using waterboarding or maybe even more aggressive interrogation techniques. And you've given me a good response, which I'll share with the public later. But I forgot to ask one question. What effect, if any, would this have on the warfighter if we started telling our men and women in uniform to intentionally target civilian non-combatants and engage in techniques such as waterboarding or more extreme forms of interrogation?
Well, Senator, what I've said publicly before is that, our men and women, and we ought to be proud of it, when they go to war with the values of our nation. And those kind of activities that you've described, they're inconsistent with the values of our nation. And quite frankly, I think it would have an adverse effect, as many adverse effects would have. One of them would be on the morale of the force.
Yeah.
And frankly, what you're suggesting are things that actually aren't legal for them to do anyway.
So when people say that we need to do terrible things or we need to take the gloves off in order to elicit information from detainees, I think that's wrong. If you start to use brutality, you let that person know exactly what it is you're after.
Really shows a complete misunderstanding or lack of understanding of sources and methods and what the job of an intelligence officer is.
My belief is that mistreating detainees gets in the way of getting intelligence.
Taking the gloves off is an easy thing to say, like you have to be tough. Well, yeah, no, first you have to be smart and know what you're doing.
It's not enhanced interrogation, it's amateur interrogation.
You don't need to pretend to be a false tough guy or falsely be tough and think that that's required. In fact, it is counterproductive. And every interrogator who is trained or who has worked it out will tell you the same thing.
The cost that we paid I'm certain, lives lost, not lives saved, because we uselessly and needlessly mistreated people was a sad moment of incompetence.
As Americans, as people who are committed to the rule of law and to human rights, and to setting an example throughout the world for human rights, we're not just making the moral argument. We're also able to say, we've actually done this. We've been there, we've seen how it works, and we know what's effective and what's not. And I can tell you what sort of methods lead to information that saves lives.